Two, check. Two, hello. Hey, folks. Hello, friends. What's going on? What's going on? It's me. It's me. Your friend, Rob. It's nice to see you. It's nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. How's it going? Thank you, Gen X Bushy. You're too kind, sir. You're too kind. I hope everyone's doing well. I got a guest coming on. In 30 minutes. It's Paris MARX. Friend of the stream, Paris MARX, hasn't been on the show in a little while. Paris, the host of the podcast Tech Won't Save Us, author of Road to Nowhere. Paris is my go-to source for any commentary or analysis of any of these kind of stories related to tech and the tech industry and all this stuff. And we're talking about Bill C-18. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the tech world that we can get into, but I wanted to talk a little bit about C-18, which is Bill C-18, which is this effort on the part of the Canadian government to try and start reining in tech companies like Meta and Google and try to get them to compensate like our media industry for them like completely dominating the media space but not being regulated or being treated like an actual media publisher, which they are. And they're, of course, having these huge responses to that. So going to be talking to Paris about that and the kind of ongoing slow motion collapse of the Canadian media industry in general, and whatever other tech stories we can think of going on. Always appreciate talking to Paris. It's going to be tremendous. Paris is coming on in 30 minutes from right now. Now, if you don't mind me, I will be eating my sandwich now. I got like a tuna. Not focusing. A tuna baguette here to munch on for lunch. Starting now. R.I.P. to Alan Arkin. R.I.P. Alan Arkin, fantastic character actor. I'm still bummed out about the aspartame cancer news from yesterday. Diego, we debunked it. We debunked that. Don't worry. You're good, okay? We're all right. You can keep enjoying your diet soda, your energy drinks, whatever. In fact, I got an energy drink right now. I got this. Look at this. What do you think about this? Woke junk science. Thank you. Thank you for saying what needs to be said about this. Listen, there's all kinds of shit in our food supply that gives us cancer. I don't think there's any denying that. Why do we need to fixate on aspartame? Why do we need to fit like my body is like fucking 65% microplastics now. Like, let's worry about that. Let's worry about the carcinogens we're breathing in from the road and from cars and forest fires and that kind of stuff. You know? Like we can keep enjoying our diet sodas and our diet drinks. It's fine. It's fine, okay? Thank you, Donna Macaroni. Thank you. Our bodies do indeed just filter that shit right out. You would need to drink so many Diet Cokes per day. You would need to drink so many fucking Diet Cokes every single day in order for this to ever be a problem. Please. Let's not worry about this. Isn't sugar basically a carcinogen? This is what I've been saying. This is all a big plot from Big Sugar. And I mean the sugar industry, not the Canadian rock band Big Sugar. Don't worry about it. I mean, I can't eat my daily pound of aspartame anymore. Yeah, maybe don't do that. Just railing big lines of aspartame. Maybe don't do that, you know? Don't do that. You can have the odd diet soda. You can have a diet soda or two, you know, with completely guilt-free. I give you my blessing as a licensed, well, not technically licensed medical professional. Don't need no liberal media telling me what I can or can't do. Are you talking about the Supreme Court striking down student debt forgiveness today? I mean, we should. I don't have a ton of time though because I'm eating my lunch and I got Paris Marx coming on at 1, and I think that warrants a broader discussion. That's something we should really like focus on a little bit more. And I'm eating a sandwich and drinking my energy drink and getting ready for this interview with Paris. So, oh shit, and I gotta reset my subs. Sorry, Sisyphus. I gotta let the boulder roll right down to the bottom of the hill. Of course. While it would be nice, the idea of starting the show with just 20 subs right off the bat is nice. Unfortunately, that's not the case. To roll that boulder back down. France is failing. We got all kinds of exciting stuff going on right now. The main thing about the Supreme Court is that if you have a unelected council of lifetime appointed, obviously partisan and political operatives, and obviously openly corrupt people, you know, like what open and shut corruption cases are there for Supreme Court Justice? Kavanaugh, yes. Who's the fucking other guy? Is it Alito? Yes. Clarence Thomas, yes. Just openly, nakedly corrupt, unappointed, unelected, lifetime appointments in this nakedly partisan political process. If that is a body that is able to like have profound impacts on laws in the country that you live in, you do not live in a democracy. You know? You do not live in a democracy. There's no anti-corruption rules at all for them, so it's chill though. Yeah, it's all on honor system. It's on the fucking honor system. No, that's great. That's a great way to do things. And listen, it's within the government's the U.S. government owns that debt. The U.S. government owns that debt, that student debt. They can just cancel it. The U.S. government can just say, okay, you know all that money you owe us? Forget about it. It's all right. Don't worry about it. It's yours. They can do that. Will Biden do that? No. No, he won't. And you see this triangulation, the same fucking thing that happens every time. No, of course we just can't cancel the debt, which they obviously can do. But what we can do is this kind of like means tested. Here you can get up to 20,000 something forgiveness through these institutions that already exist, and then the Supreme Court just comes along and says, actually, no, you can't even do that. You can't even do that. So we'll see what Biden does, if anything. And they're saying, oh, we're going to do things to protect borrowers or whatever. But like, what are they going to do? They can cancel the debt, and they're choosing specifically to not do that. That's not a democratic system, though. You know? This is an unelected council of people with lifetime appointments, openly, obviously, blatantly corrupt, openly, obviously, nakedly partisan and political.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob.
Like these people are fucking political operatives that come through this system, this federalist society system, to put them in place for specifically this reason. This is not a democracy. This is not a democracy. Excuse me. Bolt thrower. Thank you, bolt thrower. 4 months of Prime. Thank you for that. Very kind of you, bolt thrower. Anyway, that's my brief takeaway. Yeah, of course there's court packing. There's any number of ways to work around it a bit, but Dems aren't willing to deny any of them. To do any of them, sorry. Something was blocking your words there. Well, that's the amazing thing, too. But Brandon says, if we talk about expanding the court, then it's going to become political.
You can count on me.
The Supreme Court might become political.
To talk you through all this.
And it's like, Brandon, are you fucking serious? It's already, the court's already political, Brandon. It's been political for several decades. Maybe since its entire existence. It's already political. Hey, Johnny, thank you very much for the 3 gifted subs. I appreciate that, Johnny. Thank you very much. I wish we all had tuna fish sandwiches. I wish you did as well, Donna. I wish you did as well. If it was up to me, I would have a universal tuna panini delivery program that would put a tuna panini in every pot. Remember that? Anyway, chin, folks. And again, this is what I'm working on here. This is really just a tremendous product, I gotta say. Even though I'm no longer sponsored by this brand, I used to get sent free cases of Rain Energy Total Body Fuel. No longer. But you know what? I just enjoy this product so much that I'm still willing to put my name and face on the endorsement of it. Chin. And you're hearing the same fucking arguments as well. It's like, well, this is because people don't vote for Democrats enough. But it's like the Democrats are in power right now and could attempt to do something or even anything at all to stop this. And lo and behold, they're not doing it. Even the whole appointment of these Supreme Court justices is so backwards in the first place. Like, how many... versus the amount of times that Democrats have been in charge of America versus Republicans, and how it seems to be only ever Republicans that get the opportunity to nominate justices. Like, it's so unbalanced. What a farce. What a farcical democracy. I do love the president that can invade any country he wants, saying he has no power to do anything. Yeah.
To talk you through all this.
If only there was something we could do about this. Lamport, thank you for the Prime. 7 months of Prime from Lamport. Thank you very much for that. I mean, it gets into what we were discussing yesterday, you know? We just can't do anything about this until you vote more for Democrats. Like the whole thing with Bidenomics. You re-elect us, and we're going to institute this Bidenomics program of this bottom-up, middle-out economics program. But it's like, you're in charge now. You're in charge right now. You've been in charge. You had the Senate and the House and the presidency, and you didn't institute this like economic agenda. Why would you do it now? What shirt are you rocking today? This is a shirt from my my old podcast, now retired. Let's give you a better look at it. Give you a better look at the shirt. Just so you can really see the design there. I love this shirt still. The podcast doesn't exist anymore, but I still do love this shirt. You can just do that without warning. I'm sorry, Sean. I apologize to anybody that was offended by that. The short shorts are rocking. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. What do we got here? 15 more minutes. Okay. 15 more minutes of lunch and chit chat. What's everyone else having for lunch? All right, Progressive Canuck. Yep. I'm happy to have you. Been a bit since you got the chit chat zone. We got a brief chit chat zone here before Paris Marx comes on. There's no one else eating lunch? No one. We got no lunch. Sin Chao's working on an apple. Okay, that's good. That's something, I guess. Johnny's making oatmeal. Okay. Oatmeal with crunchy peanut butter, brown sugar, and cinnamon. Okay, that sounds a little bit next level. I'm not a big oatmeal guy. I don't know when the last time that I've sat down and eaten some oatmeal is, but that does sound pretty good. Just ate a pack of real fruit gummies. It's sustenance, I suppose. Well, it's real fruit. It says right there in the title. Real fruit, that's healthy. Fruit is very good for you. So, I think that's totally fine to do. Ryland's eating chips and a chicken sandwich with the Havarti cheese. Sounds very good. Very tasty. Oh. I assume they're just sliced fruit just to look... Yeah, fruit sliced just to look like gummies. Exactly. That's precisely what it is. Fruit has vitamins in it. Very good for you. That was nice. That was a nice little sandwich. Feeling good. Feeling ready to go here. I just broke my chip clip. Rylan, what's a chip clip? Is that some kind of like chip delivery tool or something? Or was that just a typo? The classic question. Oh, it's the clip to keep your chips fresh. I guess that makes sense. You put the clip on there to close the bag. Okay. I see. Just eat the whole bag. That's right. I guess there's no other way. The only way out is through, you know? That's all you can do now. It would be wasteful not to. What kind of maniac leaves chips in the bag? If I leave some chips in a bag, I'm usually just like doing some kind of weird folding technique. I wrap it up like a burrito. And then I use the weight of the chip bag to like make it so it stays shut. It's no more, so I guess I'm going to have to eat a family-sized bag of Ruffles. I mean, sometimes in life, you just have to eat a family-sized bag of Ruffles. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm giving all kinds of like dietary advice to people today, which is, of course, all...
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the
legitimate
account.
Speaking of Sisyphus and Greeks being silly, Jupiter was the father of Hercules, and the Disney movie should have been called Heracles.
Thank you, Diego, for 200 friend coin. I haven't actually seen the Disney Hercules movie. My kid's been talking about watching it, though, a lot lately. He's like, there's so many Disney movies that he hasn't seen, but what he does is he goes online on YouTube and finds Disney villain death compilations and watches those. There's not even that. There's Disney villain falling to their death compilations on YouTube. So every time a villain falls to their death, which happens pretty often in Disney movies, it's a compilation of every single one of these instances. Sometimes I'll just like turn around and I'll just hear like like just like fall, just like 15 straight minutes of people falling off stuff to their doom. You need to show him the end of Die Hard. I've been telling him about it. He wants to watch it, but I'm like, no, we're not just going to watch the end. I'm trying to tell him, like, because when he wants to watch a movie now, he can't just sit there for the movie and watch the beginning and the middle and the end. He just like, he memorizes where every single part that he wants to see is, and he just like skips to that part and then watches it 500 times in a row and then just moves on to something else. And I'm like, no, if you want to watch that, we're going to put on the movie. We're going to watch the beginning of the movie, the middle of the movie, and then the end. And the end then means something to you because you're emotionally invested in it. And it's serving a storytelling purpose. You know? It is YouTube brain. I can't remember if I was like that. I think, like, you know, when you're 6 or 7, maybe. You know, I had VHSs, but I would probably do something similar. But it is YouTube as kind of and the ability of like having streaming services and things like that make it way easier now, right? It's not like you're rewinding a videotape over and over and over again, but you just have this little button you can press to like have the dopamine button from the thing that you like to see over and over and over and over and over again, you know? Okay, we're getting close to having Paris come on the program. He's super fascinated with Die Hard too because he wants to see. He does want to see the scene where the guy falls at the end of the movie, Alan Rickman in the first one, but also he really loves Jeremy Irons. Like, he talks to me every day about Jeremy Irons because Jeremy Irons is the voice of Scar. And he has this, as I've talked to you about, he has this fixation and obsession with voice actors and the idea of voice acting. So he knows every single fucking voice actor in like every film that you can imagine. So I was showing. So not only is he interested in Die Hard to see Alan Rickman fall to his death at the end, but he is top shelf, absolutely. But like he wants to see, because I told him Jeremy Irons in Die Hard with a Vengeance talks with an American accent. He's kind of fascinated with that too, like people that have different accents and then doing different voices. And I was showing him the part in Die Hard with a Vengeance when he pretends to be American as a kind of a callback to the first film. And he says, "Holy Toledo." Remember that? He goes and sees the wreckage of the subway bombing. He's pretending to be some like city engineer. Holy Toledo. So I was telling him about that. I think I like Die Hard with a Vengeance a little more than Die Hard. It's really great. It's really great. I think the first one is just a perfect movie to me. Vengeance with the Vengeance is very good. And the cool thing about it though is they never made any more Die Hard movies after that. You know, you go out with a great capper to the trilogy like Die Hard with a Vengeance, and then you just stop making those films, which is what happened in this case. You know? Alas, your Mr. Takagi will not be joining us for the rest of his life. Fucking Rickman in that movie is just fantastic. Just fantastic. You know what? Even though the Rickman and his gang are, you know, bad people in that movie, they're willing to blow up a bunch of like civilians. Like they're not nice guys. I always feel a little bad for them though. I really do. I always feel a little bad for them. This dumb American motherfucker cop just happens to be there. They have such a great plan. Their plan is just so great, and it just like clockwork. It's all planned out, and this dumb motherfucker just happens to be there. Just ruins the whole thing. I always feel kind of bad for them. This dumb Irish flatfoot. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, damn, what a great plan they got going here, and this fucking aggressive New York cop probably has 25 aggravated assault complaints against him in his career. Just happens to show up. Excuse me. Rickman and Willis had the begrudging respect for each other in the movie, which I kind of appreciated. Yeah, it's I mean, it's a fantastic movie. It's one of my favorites. It's an absolutely perfect film. You ought to be on fucking TV with that accent. I managed to find a way out of there. I thought I could go up on the roof to call for help. You devious fucker. Alan Rickman. Okay, let me get ready for Paris MARX here. Hope I'm ready for this. This is kind of impromptu. This is kind of a last moment thing. You know, it's like, this is one of these cases where, like, I knew about what was happening with Bill C-18, but I hadn't paid a huge amount of attention to it. And this is one of those cases where, you know, not only is Paris going to be able to come on here and talk to us, you, the audience, about this and about the implications for our media and everything, but like, I'm is rumbling Die Hard clips. That's right. Those were clips directly from the film. But like, he's able to explain it to me too, because like, I want to get caught up on this as well. I've been seeing that it's been going on, but I haven't been super immersed in the details. So it's going to be really good. Paris can come and explain this shit to me, and then hopefully the people that are watching can also learn something. And sometimes I have a hard time figuring out what to call these segments, but I think just because Paris has been on the show a couple times now, probably 3 or 4 times. As I said, Paris Marx is always who I go to get kind of like an analysis about this kind of tech-related issue. And I just think it's this segment. Paris is an official TRRS correspondent, and the segment from now until whenever is called Our Stupid Future with Paris Marx. Check in with Paris a couple times a year about this stuff. Why did I just open Fortnite? Why am I opening Fortnite right now, folks? Why am I doing that? Why am I opening Fortnite? It's not Fortnite time. Although maybe for the like ADHD heads in the chat, I could start doing interviews while playing Fortnite at the same time, so we can have the divided attention thing. Because you've been programmed. Because you're silly. I guess I am. Well, when in Rome, it's true. No, I'm not going to play Fortnite right now. I'm supposed to talk to Paris. I'm supposed to talk to Paris Marx. Sorry. Let me just close that. I could maybe be back later this evening for some Fortnite action. We'll see. We'll see. And I want to take a moment, too, to plug Paris's piece about this. We're going to talk to Paris Marx in just a moment about Bill C-18. But Paris has a great piece out right now on this very thing. If you want to get the textual version of his thoughts here, that's where it is. I just put the link in the chat on disconnect.blog. Let's fire up Zoom here. We're going to talk to Paris Marx. And I run to the second arrangement. It's only the natural thing. Has anyone heard that? I don't want to get too much into Dan talk here, as we all know. We all know that that's what the stance is on this show about that. But that new version of Second Arraignment just came out, that they found this old tape. They found this old tape in a drawer somewhere of the famous lost track from the Gaucho recordings. The Second Arrangement. Sounds really good. I actually did it. I tried to put on my producer hat, and I even tried to produce like a clearer version. I ran into audio production and started removing some of the fuzz and the sounds from it to get it a little bit more clear. Fucking great song. It's still like a real tragedy that it got deleted. It's cool to be able to hear this version of it, but I would just absolutely love to hear with that crisp Gaucho production, which is just, to me, that's, as I've talked about before, I think that's just about the best an album has ever sounded. Gaucho. And that song is just so great, and hearing it with that clean Gaucho production would be fucking fantastic. I don't know if we're ever gonna get that though. Run to the second arrangement. It's only the natural thing. And mods are asleep. I can talk about the Dan if I want to. That's right, Donna. I am talking about Steely Dan. specifically Steely Dan Gaucho, which is probably my favorite album. And their lost track, the second arrangement, which was the first song that they worked on that album, and it got mistakenly deleted by some like engineer that was working on the sessions. Deleted the masters for the first single that they had worked on, and it was just so devastating that they tried to do a new version of it. And they just scrapped it. I named 2 of my cats after Steely Dan songs. Oh my goodness, Donna. I think you're going to fit right in here in this community. I'm interested to know more about this. Ricky and Peg, nice. Nice. The problem is, so I don't think there's any mods paying attention to what I'm doing right now, but there was actually a Dan ban instituted on this channel because I started talking about Steely Dan so much that it was alienating for people. There's like a few of us that are really into it, such as Cinnamon Challenge. But like I would go on these like long-winded conversations about the Dan. And eventually the mods had to cut me off. I'm not allowed to talk about the Dan anymore. But I guess the mods are asleep, so I'm allowed right now. Anyways, folks, our friend Paris MARX is joining the program right now. Paris, again, the host of the Tech Won't Save Us podcast, my go-to official TRRS correspondent for these kinds of issues. We're going to talk about Bill C-18 and the ongoing collapse. There it goes, the Dan ban command. The Dan ban command. We're going to talk about Bill C-18, the ongoing collapse of Canadian media industry, and other kind of tech news. Always happy to talk to Paris, who will be joining the show right now. Hello, Paris. Are you there?
Hello. How's it going?
It's going very well. How are you doing?
I'm well. Happy to join you again, as
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, well, I was explaining, Paris, that you are the official TRRS tech correspondent. Actually, I don't know if you ever agreed to that or anything, but I'm officially
honored.
declaring. Yeah. It's good. No, I do really always appreciate getting your perspective on this. Like I was saying, Paris, obviously the host of the Tech Won't Save Us podcast. Always really appreciate when you can come on and kind of break down some of these issues for us. And so like I was saying, like I was saying when I was setting up this segment, the whole issue with Canadian media and Bill C-18, it's something that I was kind of aware of, but hadn't really dug into all that much. So as the kind of news about this sort of like escalated this week with the bill kind of causing this big backlash from both Google and Meta, who were talking about completely removing news from their product, which is going to have a huge consequence. I thought it'd be a good time to have you come on so you can kind of break down the situation for me and for people in Canada and even people outside of Canada that are curious about how governments around the world are trying to respond to these tech companies and the way that they have this role as media publishers despite not technically being regulated or treated that way. So do you just want to, I guess, start off by breaking down for our viewers here, what is Bill C-18 and what caused this big backlash by these tech companies?
Absolutely. I don't blame you for not being like totally up on it. It is a bit of like a boring thing to be following when, there's not big tech companies kind of like threatening to pull all news out of Canada as they finally are now. So now everyone's like paying attention, right? So C-18, goes by the other name, the Online News Act. And basically the goal of it, if people are familiar with what happened in Australia a few years ago, where they kind of put together this process to force Google and Facebook to start paying news publishers down there, the Trudeau Liberal government basically looked at that and said, you know what, we like that. We want to do that here. And a lot of the big media companies said, we also want you to do that here because we want money from these big tech companies. And so the government government has kind of been working through this process of setting up this kind of, bargaining arrangement between the news publishers and between, Google and Facebook, basically, to make sure that they need to kind of come to the table, come to an agreement so that Google and Facebook have to pay the news publishers for the news content that kind of circulates on their platforms and that they make money off of because, people are engaging with that news. People are seeing advertising on Google and Facebook as they're looking for that news, and they might not even always go to the news publisher's website. And so the idea is to kind of send some of that advertising revenue from Google and Facebook back to the news publishers, which are creating that valuable content, so that the budgets of news companies get a bit more sustainable. And so what is happening right now is that bill finally passed just recently. So, it's becoming law. And now we're kind of moving to the stage where the government is setting up like the actual regulations for how the process is going to play out. And so Google and Facebook are kind of upping the ante in this moment to try to push back and ensure that, the actual regulations are a bit looser than what the actual bill and what the law and what the government has been suggesting, because they don't technically want to like partake in a public process where they're like officially designated by the government as a digital platform that needs to pay the news publishers. They would rather go to them kind of one by one and make deals on their own that are not under kind of the auspices of the government process, and do it that way. But right now they would be kind of under this legislation, they would be under this kind of government bargaining process, and they don't like that. And so part of the reason that they're kind of upping the ante right now and that they're kind of holding news publishers and Canadians, basically to ransom to ensure that the government kind of gives in to their requests is that on the one hand, it's kind of like this make or break moment where like, what is the end point of this process going to be? And then the other piece of it is they see that there are other jurisdictions watching what is happening in Canada right now. Like California, for example, has said that they plan to move forward with something similar. So the tech companies are basically saying, if you try to come after us, California and other jurisdictions, we are going to do the same thing that we're doing here in Canada. So like, be careful and make sure that you don't piss us off too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting example of this ongoing kind of trend in tech where these big tech companies, like under the idea that they're going in and like disrupting and creating this new technology, are going into these different industries and totally taking over and dominating them, like you see with Uber and the taxi companies, you see with Airbnb and the hotel industry. And this is an ongoing thing for as long as these big social media companies have been around, basically over the last decade plus, is that they have become news publishers, or whether they say that they're news publishers or not, they are. But they've completely escaped any scrutiny or accountability, or have avoided being treated like with the very specific rules and laws that are in place to deal with how we treat the news and how it gets out to people. And it just hasn't happened. So it's like, I don't want to give the Liberal Party or the Canadian government too much credit that they're finally getting around to this. And like, I don't know if they're going to back down now that they're trying to like flex the power that they have over people. But I mean, it is interesting now that there's governments around the world, in Canada, and I believe in Australia, this has been going on in some places in Western Europe as well, that are actually starting to be like, okay, let's start to try and claw back some of the immense power that these tech companies have in delivering news to people. So it's really interesting to see them finally starting to kind of try to do something to deal with this issue.
Yeah, it's very welcome, right? And like, it's about time. It's taken them long enough. It felt like for a long time, the internet was kind of seen as like, we just need to let the internet expand and let these companies expand. And that's like democracy and freedom. And this is how like we open things up in our societies and stuff. And like, maybe that like sort of makes sense to a certain degree in the United States because you have US companies that are dominating the internet. But when you think of countries outside the United States, basically what you're allowing is these US companies to move in and to dominate everything that happens online, and then to be able to kind of crowd out and outcompete domestic competitors competitors because they have the advantage of being grounded in the US market and also having this kind of global market that they're serving. So they get the economies of scale that comes with that. But then if you have like domestic players, like if there's like a Canadian rival to Amazon or to Google or whatever, they can't compete the same way if they're just kind of operating within one country. And so, what we've seen for a long time is these US companies kind of move in, kind of dominate the market of internet services and e-commerce and all these other sorts of things. And the expectation is just that we need to be okay with that because this is the way the internet works, and this is freedom and freedom of speech and blah, blah, blah. And I think that it's about time that government started saying, actually, this is not all right just to allow everything that we do online to be dominated by American companies that also don't want to follow our laws and respect what we expect for our country. And while I don't totally agree with the way that the Trudeau Liberals have approached this, I think it's good that they're finally, because when Justin Trudeau came to power in 2015, he was like buddy with Facebook and buddy with Google, and he wanted to be close to the tech companies. And I think it's good that we've reached this point where our political leaders are ready to really kind of start fighting these tech companies and standing up for Canadians. And they should have done it long ago.
Yeah, you really see the kind of as much as the whole Silicon Valley tech revolution was pitched as being this democratic and transformative thing, you see how there's this libertarian sort of ideology that's been animating all the people that run all these companies. And you really see it come out in moments like that. I mean, just getting into Meta and Facebook and everything, it's not only have they acted as a news publisher with completely escaping any scrutiny over the last decade plus, but have been actively harmful to society, both here and around the world. Pulling people into this web of conspiracy and misinformation, in this process of growing to so much, having so much power over distributing news to people, and without any regulation, you see how they've been completely complicit in taking a lot, millions of people and radicalizing them into these bizarre and fucked up directions that have been hugely consequential to our social fabric. Which is exactly why these regulations exist in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. If you think about kind of why that happens, I would argue in part it's because obviously you have these platforms that benefit from fueling engagement, right? And extreme content gets people more engaged on the platform, gets people more kind of riled up, more likely to engage with content, whether it's to read it and to kind of go down that rabbit hole of radicalization, or to read it and want to respond to it angrily because this is ridiculous and they're really mad about it, right? So it works really well for these companies. But I would say part of the reason that works as well is that they have also kind of eroded traditional journalism because all of these companies basically, if you think about the model of journalism, it was really based on an advertising model, many of these companies, where they made a lot of money from ads that were in their newspapers or on their stations or radio stations or what have you. And that made them a ton of money so that they could fund journalism while still making profits on the other end. And of course, then you had classifieds and other things that brought in revenue as well. But as things have moved online, these major internet companies, and again, American internet companies, Facebook, Google especially, have really eaten up that advertising market. So journalism and media organizations lost a lot of that revenue. They've many publications across Canada, hundreds of publications across Canada over the past decade have closed. You've seen many journalists lose their jobs, and the whole industry as a whole has been struggling as a result. Meanwhile, these companies like Facebook and Google are making massive mega profits by sucking up advertising revenue from all around the world. That's perilous for all of these journalistic organizations. And so they don't have the resources to actually do local reporting and to do investigative reporting and actually to kind of put in the time to investigate things and report things out, because they just need to get stories out. They need to take things from the Wire, maybe change a few things up and then publish it as their own story. The Wire, like Associated Press and Canadian Press and things like that. And they just don't have the time to do this stuff. Meanwhile, the American right and the billionaires that fund the American right have made a ton of money over the past few decades. And so they funnel that money into right-wing media and right-wing propaganda that then fuels these kind of hate farms on social media that, radicalize people and blah, blah, blah. Like we see how this all works. It's all a cycle. And these social media platforms contribute to it in many different ways.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting as well. We've had so much talk in Canada lately about like foreign interference into our democracy. Oh no, that with the Chinese, and like the
Yeah.
Chinese are paying off
It's
these
always
like
big,
random
scary China, right?
Yeah, these they're paying off these random liberal backbenchers and sending spy balloons and things like that, interfering in our democracy. And the idea that these American tech companies can just waltz right in and completely overtake and dominate our entire media industry. That's like, oh yeah, that's fine that they do that. Let's not worry about that too much. It's a little
Totally.
bit strange the way we give outsized importance to different countries interfering in our democracy.
It's absolutely hilarious, right? Like only foreign interference by China or Russia or like Iran actually matter, and we should be worried about them. Even though we know that there's plenty of reporting, and CBC just did a story about this the other day about the foreign interference story that comes from India under the Modi regime, and they're increasingly kind of far right Hindu nationalist party, and how they are influencing Canadian elections and trying to influence politics in Canada. Back when the United States was having its big freak out over Russian interference in the elections, like there were plenty of reports that said, okay, like Russia did some stuff, but like actually Israel and Saudi Arabia are like much more involved in trying to
Yeah.
influence American elections, but like we don't talk about those because they don't matter as much because like they're our allies, quote unquote. So like all this stuff is going on, and like let's be real, like American influence in Canadian elections is also like a very real thing that
Yeah.
very much happens, and they love to kind of make statements to try to sway things in Canadian elections, but we wouldn't talk about it that way because they are a big friend to the South, right? Yeah, so it just shows like the real hypocrisy that exists there.
Yeah. We're basically like a northern province of the United States, but we don't really like to talk about that as well.
Totally. And like if I can just pick up on that too, like if you think about how Canadian politics has like shifted in the past number of decades, like we had Stephen Harper, who basically wanted us to be like a mini America. And that was like part of his whole project, is he wanted to make us more American, because he was a conservative, and he believed that like these days he would probably say Canada was like some woke liberal, loser country or something, and he was trying to make it like more manly by following the US or something.
Yeah.
And then you have Justin Trudeau, who comes to power, and like when Justin Trudeau comes to power, he says like Canada's back, and Canada's back on the world stage, and we're going to have this presence again. But really, Justin Trudeau has ensured that Canadian foreign policy is basically in lockstep with the United States. We don't have an independent foreign policy anymore for the most part. And in the cases that we do, it's often just because he's trying to be even more hawkish than the United States is. So we've lost that. And then if we look back to like a few decades ago, like if we look back to the 1970s and even parts of the 1980s before the neoliberal turn, like there was a real desire and a real interest in ensuring that there was like Canadian sovereignty. There was a degree of Canadian nationalism, and like we can talk about whether that's a good thing or not. But like there was explicit desires for cultural protectionism to ensure that we weren't just flooded with American kind of cultural media and all this kind of stuff. That's why we have the CBC, our public broadcaster. It's why we have plenty of public funding for media. It's why we have regulations on the cable companies and the broadcasters and now the streaming companies to ensure that they need to show a certain amount of Canadian content, that they need to fund the creation of Canadian content. But it's also why we have had other programs in the past that have been aimed at trying to ensure that Canada wasn't being kind of taken over by American companies. Our telecom companies can't be owned by foreign companies. They have to be Canadian, and we can hate them because Bell and Rogers and TELUS suck, but at least they're not owned by American companies or some foreign companies, right?
Yeah.
And like there was an interest in ensuring that in the past, and it has very much eroded. And I think that that's a serious problem because we lose the ability to actually have control over what happens in our own country, whether it's Canada or other countries around the world who experience something similar.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like the solution there, because we can talk about how Bell and Rogers and TELUS are these Canadian companies. Probably the next step to that is that we need to nationalize all these companies that are
Totally.
operating on public infrastructure in the first place that was funded by federal funding and taxpayer funding, which they have meant they've turned into this oligopoly that they immensely profit from. Perhaps we should nationalize all that shit so we can actually own and operate it.
And like we've done that in the past, right? Like
Yeah.
TELUS used to be the Alberta public telecom company before it was privatized. And we used to have public telecom companies in Manitoba as well. Saskatchewan still has one, and hopefully they kind of keep it. The right-wing government there is desperate to privatize it and get rid of it. But like, this exists in our history, like nationalizing telecom because these private companies are not serving us properly. And we just like kind of forget that and like memory hole it because like, well, we just couldn't possibly challenge these private companies in the present. The public sector can't be involved in any of this because we have a few decades of neoliberalism. So we just need to let the private market kind of suck us dry and take over everything. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it is. And it gets into our media as well. And we're talking about the role that Meta and Google and these tech companies play in kind of like disrupting and destroying our media industry. But even if we do manage to successfully like claw back some kind of concessions from them, we still do have this like privatized media industry that's basically owned and operated at this point by one company, predominantly Postmedia, who are now in the process of merging with one of our only remaining like remotely progressive and left-wing newspapers. Like, and we, as you talked about a little bit before, hinted at, we have like Bell Media laying off hundreds of people. Like we're living through this era of like this media consolidation and privatization, and it's really like collapsing in on itself. So as much as it's important to focus on what these tech companies are doing, there's a much broader problem here, which we're not really addressing, which is that our whole media industry is being destroyed. And that's going to have serious consequences for everybody.
Totally. Like, the state of Canadian media, I don't want to like understate it, is really terrible. Especially in the past decade, like we've had so many layoffs, so many closures of newspapers and radio stations and things like that. And then on top of like the merging where we've had Postmedia and Nordstar, which owns the Toronto Star, kind of swapping newspapers in the past so they could shut competitors down so that they didn't have to run kind of competing operations. As you say, they're now looking to merge with one another as if that's going to solve any problems in Canadian media. We just saw Bell, as you said, kind of lay off a bunch of journalists, shut down radio stations, consolidate newsrooms. And Bell is one of kind of the major, we talked about them as a telecom company, but they're also one of the major media organizations because they own CTV, which is, the largest Canadian cable television station. And they're kind of shutting all that stuff down too. And then on top of that, we've seen BuzzFeed leave, we've seen HuffPost leave, because there was this entrance of like US kind of media startups in the 2010s, and all that stuff is kind of left as well. Of course, we see Vice too, which is in bankruptcy right now. So, just bad across the board. And one thing I would say about that as well is you mentioned Postmedia, which owns the National Post and, a bunch of the other kind of major newspapers that are kind of left standing across Canada right now. And that is owned by a US hedge fund, which kind of loaded it up with debt and now is like cutting it to the bone so that it can pay back that debt and enrich its shareholders. And that was a decision that was explicitly made by the Stephen Harper government, because in the past, a US company would not have been able to buy a Canadian media operation like that. But his government allowed it to happen. And that is part of the reason, but certainly not the only reason, that we're in this state that we're in today. So like, yes, we need to challenge Meta and Google and what they are doing to Canada and to Canadian media, but we also need to recognize that Canadian media is in a really tough place, and it's not just going to get fixed by giving some more money to Postmedia and the Toronto Star and whatnot, but there needs to be a much more kind of fundamental rethink of how Canadian media works and how it's funded to ensure that it serves the public and that it serves, journalists, and so that we can actually have journalists properly employed and doing important local and investigative work and things like that. And not just enriching these shareholders while everything kind of burns down around us.
Yeah. All those jobs are now going to be outsourced to Chat GPT.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
they would love to, you know.
yeah, no, I
Like,
know. I don't doubt it. And I don't doubt that there's going to be a significant effort to do that, which is also something that we're going to have to try and push back on as best we
yeah.
can. I mean, it's interesting because, like, you and I, Paris, I kind of really feel like we're part of this whatever movement in this country to try and build alternative media institutions that are outside this framework, like with your podcast, Tech Won't Save Us, and this show and the stuff that I've done, and all the different shows that are part of the Harbinger Media Network, which we work together on. And that's been a really like satisfying thing to try and build. And I remain incredibly proud of like the work that you and I and others are doing on this. But I got to say, it's been also frustrating how that's been completely ignored by these mainstream journalists who are having their own industry destroyed in front of their very eyes. And they're completely ignoring this big grassroots kind of independent media movement that's trying to be constructed from the ground up by just like random people like you and I. It's been frustrating, and you realize why is because the things that we talk about actually have things to say about challenging who has the power in this country, and are talking about things like nationalization, and are talking about foreign policy and American and Israeli influence in our country, and these things. Our mainstream media doesn't want to talk about these things. We don't want to talk about anything that actually legitimately challenges power in this way. So that's what I mean. It's been satisfying to try and work on building these alternative institutions, but it's also been frustrating because I feel like it is really kind of being ignored on a mainstream level. This burgeoning effort to construct these totally new media institutions outside this mainstream framework.
No, totally. And I think it was interesting, I think it was last year, there was the big Rogers outage across Canada where like a bunch of people lost their internet service and 911 service went down and all that kind of stuff. And after like a decade of talking about how we just need more competition in telecommunications and in internet and in mobile phones and blah, 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 it seemed like all of a sudden there was like a crack. And like for a brief moment, we were able to have some conversations in like the public, the mainstream media, about actually maybe all that we need to do is like nationalize these companies and make telecom a public service. And so like that was fascinating to me, right? To see how it could break in that moment. And I think it's so great to see how there's been so much independent media growing in Canada, kind of, in the ashes of this great kind of fire and destruction that has been happening in the media landscape. Whether it's kind of podcasts that do what we do, but also, organizations like The Breach, of course, based in Montreal, that does fantastic kind of, left-wing kind of reporting and investigative reporting, or organizations like The Maple, which recently merged up with Passage so that they can kind of combine forces and, wield more kind of effort to do things, or even more like traditional organizations, or maybe not traditional is probably the wrong word, but like, the TIE out in BC, which does progressive reporting as well in British Columbia. So all these things are like happening across the country, and that is fantastic. But I would also say that, it's not enough to kind of fill the void of what has been left with all the hundreds of closures that have happened over the past decade or so. And ultimately, if we do want to try to build a better media in Canada and ensure that journalism is a public good that is kind of doing investigative work, that is providing people with information on their communities and all this kind of stuff, that is not going to be solved by the private market. I think that we need to kind of give up on this fantasy that like if we just have enough people contributing to Canada Land on Patreon, or like enough people like looking at the ads on media organizations websites or whatever, that we'll all be good and like we'll fix Canadian media. And like that is just not how it's going to work. Like these business models are fundamentally broken, and what we need is for the government to step in and say, okay, we need to like actually look at what is necessary to ensure that journalism can be sustainable and can be done properly in this country. And that means giving CBC, a shitload more money, even though, I have a lot of problems with CBC and they're not great, but they're still essential and an essential kind of public institution for journalism and for local reporting in particular that should be expanded. Yeah. But also thinking about how we set up like a public fund to actually fund journalism that is, nonprofit, that is kind of working really hard to kind of let people know about their communities and do these important investigations that we've lost with all the closures that have happened and all the journalism jobs that have been lost. And that's not going to happen by just kind of linking traditional media organizations to tech companies and ensuring that they can siphon off a bit of the advertising profits. That needs a much deeper kind of rethink and a much bigger kind of public funding mechanism and program in order to do that.
Yeah. And so just going back to this Bill C-18, I mean, do you have any thoughts on who's going to blink first here? Because obviously these tech companies are really trying to, like, again, show their strength and the ability that they have to completely pull back from what has now become like an essential service for a lot of people, like searching Google to find news stories, which is a really common thing that we all do often. And so, they're going to put the government in a position where they should back down. And it's tough to know, especially when you talk about the relationship traditionally between big tech and the Liberal Party and Trudeau himself and the people around him. So do you have any ideas about what do you think is going to happen about this? Like, do you think is this going to be a permanent change? Is the government going to blink, or do we think that if they stay strong, these tech companies are going to end up playing ball, and this is only like a kind of a threatening gesture that they're making?
It's tough to say exactly what is going to happen there. Because in Australia, what happened is, the government was moving forward with something similar to this. And then Facebook pulled Australian news from its platform, and then the government kind of watered it down a bit to ensure that the tech companies still had to pay the media organizations, but the process was a bit more aligned with how they wanted to do it. And the Canadian government and the Heritage Minister, Pablo Rodriguez, have been very clear that they do not want to follow that example in Australia, because what happened then is, because the agreements between the tech companies and the media companies were kind of not done through this public government process, but were just signed kind of, one-on-one and whatnot, that they were very secretive, that there was very little information about what actually went into those deals, how much money was changing hands. It was difficult to know any of that information. And so the Heritage Minister, I watched an interview with him yesterday, and he said that, one of the goals of setting up the process, how they have set it up, is to ensure that there is that transparency that didn't exist in the Australian case. So, they say that they're still talking to Google, whereas talks have been completely cut off with Meta, which is not surprising, because I think that Google does kind of depend more on having news content on its platforms and benefits more from that than Facebook does. But it's hard to see either side really backing down at the moment, because the government has really kind of dug their feet into the sand and said that this is the process that we need to have because we need this transparent process and blah, blah, blah. And the tech companies are very clearly saying, this does not work for us. We don't want to go through this government process. We want to ensure that we can kind of sign these deals ourselves, know what money is going to be changing hands. And they've tried to do that in like the couple of years leading up to this process, because they knew it was coming anyway. And they recently said that like all the deals they've already made would be canceled if this whole process kind of continues. So yeah, it's tough to see how it's going to go. Like, and honestly, I think if these tech companies do pull their news from their platforms in Canada, so Canadians can't access it, I don't think it would be the end of the world. Like, I think we're really overstating how bad this would be. I think we'd very quickly find other ways of accessing that news and of finding our news. It would just be like a readjustment for a few weeks as we figure that out. And I think right now it's treated as like this doomsday scenario, both for us as news consumers, but also for news organizations. And based on the reading that I've done, like when Facebook pulled the news in Australia, sure, they saw a 13% decline. News organizations saw a 13% decline from traffic from Australia and a 30% decline from traffic from overseas. But that was over a very short period of time, because it was very quickly reversed, and there wasn't really time for people to readjust, for news organizations to change the way that they kind of promoted their news and got people to access it, and for regular news consumers to say, okay, I can't get my news through Facebook, so how else am I going to get it? And in Spain, where it was a longer process and where Google took down the news off of its off of its website and off of its search engine, the impact there was that large publishers found that there was very little difference that was made to them because people found other ways of getting the news. Small publishers did experience a bit more of a hit, but large publishers actually kind of benefited because instead of people reading their news articles through news aggregators or through Google, where they're not getting any ad revenue from that, they were going directly to the websites of those news organizations, and so they were generating more revenue for them. So, I think we'll see how it plays out, but either way, I'm not super scared of what's going to happen. But I do think that with the tech companies really pushing back and really digging in their heels and saying, we're going to take all this news off of our platforms and you're just not going to be able to access it because we don't like what the government is doing, I think there's a real opportunity to just say, fuck these platforms, and let's figure out a better way to do this.
Well, that's a pretty good and optimistic way to look at it, I think. And I really appreciate your insight and your analysis of this, Paris.
Absolutely.
And I know as this progresses, you're going to be covering this. So I encourage people to follow Paris on Twitter and follow Tech Won't Save Us to pay attention to this story. It's because it's really important. It has big implications for the way we consume media and the way our media industry is operating in this country. Before we go, is there any other tech stuff we should get to? What about Musk versus Zuckerberg? Do you have a question about that? The fight of the century. So first question, are you going to watch the upcoming brutal grudge match cage fight between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg? Number two, who have you got? Who are you picking as the winner in that?
So first of all, I would say if that actually happened, I would try to get tickets and go. I would want to see that thing in person. I would want to see Mark Zuckerberg slam Elon Musk in the face. You know, as much as I hate them both, I hate Elon more. Let's be honest. So my money would be on Zuck. Zuck has been doing jujitsu for years. He's been trained by a black belt or a double black belt or something like that. So he has the skills. Now, Elon Musk is heavy. He's a big dude. He's tall. He says his move would be the whale, where he just kind of jumps on his opponent and crushes them.
Well, he's trained in no holds barred street fighting, though, as he said the other day. So that's dangerous stuff.
Of course. Yeah. I remember, as you say that, I remember a story, which is really, I find it funny, at least. Elon Musk, when he was a kid, he says that he was bullied a lot, right? And there was one time that he ended up in the hospital because a kid pushed him down the stairs. And in his biography, this is kind of explained and talked about as Elon Musk was bullied really hard.
So mean
this
to
kid
him.
pushed him down the stairs. He ended up in the hospital. But then there's this interview that his father gave where he was where he told a completely different rendition of the story, where he was yeah, Elon was actually teasing this guy because his dad had committed suicide. And so the kid pushed Elon down the stairs. And his dad was initially I was really mad, but then I found out what Elon did, and I was nah, the kid was in the right.
You kind of had it coming.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would put my money on Zuck, just because I hate Musk so much. But I'm not even sure it's going to happen because based on what I was reading, Elon Musk's mommy said he can't do this, and so it all got called off. So.
Well, I'm hoping that he won't. We got to keep putting the pressure on him. We've seen Elon; he'll respond to pressure. If people are calling him that he's being a wimp or something, if enough people say it, maybe he's just going to agree with it just to save face.
I hope so. I would love to see it.
It's funny you mentioned that thing with his father too, because again, Elon Musk's father, super weird and evil guy as well. Yeah. But I will say
the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Exactly. I will say I will give him credit though, because he keeps dispelling these myths, but that Elon Musk is trying to tell about himself, that he was bullied. The whole thing about I lived on $1 a day in Canada, and Elon Musk's father's no, you didn't. We gave you lots of money. Yeah. Elon Musk is saying
everyone talks about this money.
Everyone talks about this emerald mine. I don't even know what you're talking about. There's no emerald mine. And his own father is just no, there was absolutely an emerald mine. Yeah, that was absolutely true. So I guess respect in these short, small, specific cases to Elon Musk's father for constantly undermining these bullshit stories that he tries to tell about his upbringing and his youth.
Totally. Elon Musk's dad is a total piece of shit. But I think he's more credible on these questions than Elon Musk himself is, because he has more incentive to rewrite his history. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Paris, once again, it is fantastic to have you come on the program again. Official TRRS tech correspondent, Paris MARX. He's the host of Tech Won't Save Us. The author of Road to Nowhere, as well. Always appreciate
You can
talking
also
about these issues.
subscribe to my Substack, Disconnect,
Yeah.
where I wrote about the Canadian news bill and everything this morning. If you want to head over and read it,
I already linked that.
Fantastic.
Once I'm going to do so again right now in the chat, so people can subscribe to Disconnect and get more hot takes from Paris Marx on this
Awesome,
and other tech related subjects. Thanks, Paris. I'll talk to you again soon.
Always happy to chat with you.
Yeah,
definitely.
same.
Looking forward to it.
All right, take care.
Bye, everyone.
Paris Marx, folks. Paris Marx. That was wonderful, as always. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Donna Macaroni, for that. Yeah, always appreciate talking to Paris. Paris, one of my few online friends that I've actually met IRL, and it was wonderful. Always appreciate talking to Paris about these kinds of issues. And folks, we're talking about independent media and trying to build these alternative independent media structures here in Canada in this dying, collapsing media environment ecosystem that we got going here. Well, did you know that TRRS, the show that you're currently watching right at this very moment, is 100% sponsored by the wonderful, generous viewers and listeners of this program. I'm very happy and proud of the work that I do each and every day here on this program, bringing you this kind of content and this kind of analysis, which is, as we've pointed out, sorely lacking in our sort of media environment. But the only way, folks, the only way that I'm able to continue doing this show and bringing you this content is through the very generous donations and subscriptions and support of the TRRS community members. So please, if you enjoy TRRS, if you enjoy this kind of content and analysis, if you support my goal of trying to make an impact in our dying, collapsing
You've just
media
become
environment,
an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
please, if you can, just as Plunger Man just did, thank you so much, Plunger Man, elite community member Plunger Man, for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you. So folks, if you enjoy this program, please, if you can, subscribe to TRRS to help keep the show on the air. Every little bit helps. It helps support me. It helps support the community. You can join the community. You can get a bunch of tiny little images, some of the very best tiny little images on this entire platform, and you can become a member.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
You can become a member, as Donna Macaroni just did. Thank you, Donna Macaroni. Thank you very much for the gifted sub. That's very kind of you. And now Donna herself entering into the base level of Twitch's only two-dimensional, triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. So a number of great benefits for people that subscribe to this content and support this program. And every little bit is much appreciated. Interlude with Paris Marx. That's not, Paris is gone. He's not there anymore. And anyway, if you're new to the community, if you're a lurker or a non-subbed viewer right now, you might be wondering what the TRRS community is all about, and I get it. Sometimes it can be a little intimidating to figure this stuff out. If you're new to this kind of thing. So that's why I created this little orientation or onboarding video for anyone that's curious about this community that wants to support this program. Here is this little video I made about TRRS and what the community is all about. So if you can, please subscribe to TRRS. Every little bit helps, and I appreciate it a lot. And we become friends when you subscribe to this show. We become friends, and it's not parasocial. It's real, okay? It's real. It's real friendship. And isn't that worth a measly $5 per month to have a friend? To have a number of friends, to have less alienation, less isolation, more community for $5? Are you kidding me? Anyway, here's this little clip. I'll throw this on again. If you can, please support TRRS by subscribing or gifting subs. I appreciate it a lot, and I love you. Thank you. Here's the video.
Thank you for expressing interest in the Friendship Triangle community. We would be thrilled to have you on board as a member of our exclusive platform. As you may know, the Friendship Triangle is Twitch's only two-dimensional, triangle-shaped, friendship access and trickle-down cloud tiered reward system. Today you have an amazing opportunity to join the base level of the Friendship Triangle system. Once you are part of the community, you'll have the ability to rise through the ranks and achieve higher levels of access and rewards. One way to do this is by gifting subscriptions to your fellow members or by inviting your friends and family members to join our community. As you ascend the tiers, you will be exposed to a range of new and exciting benefits, such as exclusive content, advanced features, and access to our elite community members. We are confident that you will enjoy all the perks that come with being part of the Friendship Triangle. However, we also want to remind you that not all friends and family members are to be trusted, especially those who may not support your new lifestyle. That's why we encourage you to focus on building meaningful relationships within our community, where you will find like-minded individuals who share your interests and values. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. We are always here to support our members and ensure that your experience with the Friendship Triangle is enjoyable. We're glad that you are considering joining the Friendship Triangle community. We look forward to seeing you rise through the Chaos Zone and all the way into the Elite tier. It's not a cult.
There you go. Always appreciate that last part in case anyone was starting to get some kind of funky ideas about what this community is all about. As you can hear in the video, it immediately dispels that. So if you're concerned about that, it's not a cult or a pyramid scheme. Again, the Friendship Triangle is two-dimensional, triangle-shaped, not three-dimensional. Very important. It's not sponsored by arms manufacturers. It's sponsored entirely by the community members. So please, folks, if you can, please support TRRS with a subscription. It's completely free of charge if you have an Amazon Prime account, which you can easily and simply convert to a Twitch Prime sub. Totally free. It all really helps, and I appreciate it a lot. Plungerman says, this video is so good, I can't imagine anyone not subscribing after watching it. Same. I mean, I can't either. And I imagine that there's kind of a backlog of subs now that so many people are rushing to access their banking information. It's probably clogging up the pipes and the tubes. It's breaking the internet, exactly. It's like the DeSantis launch. It's just like that. Do I need to sway suggestively to yacht rock? Is that what you're chat? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? Again, I'm an adult, middle-aged man. I'm here trying to do informative and entertaining and educational content here. Try playing Only a Fool would say that. That's a good one. I don't know if there's any MIDI versions of that, though. Is everything smoky up there? It's a little bit today, but not too bad. Last weekend was really bad. Like, I woke up last weekend smelling like someone had a bonfire in my apartment. I would be open to doing a karaoke version of Deacon Blues, but that I can't do that without hitting the sub goal. Like I can't say, oh yeah, I'll do a karaoke version of Deacon Blues at like 18 subs. Like I just can't. I can't do that. You know? Deacon Blues is the best drunk dad song. It's really the one, Donna, that I remember from like driving around with my dad for that exact reason. I remember even as a child hearing that lyric, drink scotch whiskey all night long. and die behind the wheel. I remember hearing that and being like, damn, like that's fucked up, being like a little kid. I have to say the Alan Parsons Project song you played the other day has been in my head. Yeah, Eye in the Sky. That's right. Eye in the Sky. That's another fun one to do karaoke to. That's another one of my favorite songs. I'm not going to do karaoke to it, but I will sway suggestively. So hopefully at least 2 or 3 people can bail me out of this segment with a gifted sub. I'm hoping. I hope you're not going to make me sway suggestively to Alan Parsons Project. Okay, you ready for this? Okay. Fuck, this song is so good. It's so hard not to sing. I ain't gonna give any more, don't ask me. That's how it goes, 'cause part of me knows what you're thinking. Donna, you're going to fit in just fine over here. I would absolutely DJ your wedding, Johnny. I'd be happy to. I am the eye in the sky, looking at you. I can read your mind. I am the maker of rules, dealing with fools. I can cheat you blind, and I don't need to see anymore to know that I can read your mind. 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 Not one sub yet. This has not brought in one sub this segment. It's almost like I just like doing it and enjoy it, but no, that can't be it.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle. You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob
Fart Party
to,
69,
talk you
thank
through
you.
all this.
Looking at you, I can read your mind. I am the maker of rules, dealing with fools. I can cheat you blind, and I don't need to see anymore to know that I can read your mind. 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 The sky, looking at you. I can read your mind. Fart Party 69, thank you very, very much. One of our truly valued community members, Fart Party 69. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs, Fart Party 69, and thank you also, Mike. Thank you, Mike, as well, for the gifted sub. I can read your mind. I can read your mind. I can read your mind.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you very much, everybody, for supporting the program. Part Ian, thank you for the 2 gifted subs as well. Thank you, folks. Thank you very, very much for supporting TRRS. I really, really appreciate it a lot. And thank you for bailing me out. I'm singing and dancing, and I don't get left out in the lurch by this wonderful community. Thank you very much, folks. I'm just going to take a brief break, okay? I have about another half an hour here to do the show. I'm going to take a little break just for like 5 minutes because I've been having to go to the bathroom for like the last 90 minutes or so. That soothed me. I'm happy to hear that, Donna. Donna Macaroni. Brand new community member, Donna Macaroni. We love it. I'm just going to take a brief break. I'll go to the bathroom, maybe get a water or something like that. I'll come back. We'll hang out and chit-chat for another couple minutes. Okay? So don't go anywhere. I'm going to be gone for like a couple minutes. I'll come back. We'll hang out and chit-chat some more. Okay? Okay, see you soon. Hello. I'm back. I'm back, folks. I was making sure I was Y2K compliant. That's correct. Yeah. That's absolutely correct. I threw the breaker box at a party I was at for Y2K. Oh, that's funny. That sounds funny. Did people freak out? That's very funny. That's a good prank. We also did this on 12/31/99. Damn. I think I was a little too young to come up with a prank like that. I was 16, I guess. The 2000 New Year. I remember the year 2000 New Year a lot, very well. Well, I'm trying to remember the name of the person whose house party I went to. Was it at Joe Nillo's house? I can't quite recall. Then I remember I watched we had a ball dropping in Brockville, Ontario. We had a ball dropping ceremony for the New Year's ball, not ball, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And I went to that. We went to Fat Pussy's house party. Who can forget? Who can forget? And everyone that watches this program knows about my cherished childhood friend, Fat Pussy. Everyone knows about this beloved friend of mine from my early years. And I'm still thinking about Fat Pussy all the time. Okay. Excuse me. Anyway, someday he's still partying to this day for sure. Fat Pussy is still back in Brockville. Friday and Saturday nights, still just tearing it up. You know, he never left the lifestyle. So I don't know what else we have. I already ranted and raved about like Biden and the Supreme Court and all that stuff. You know, it's Friday. It's the end of my streamer week. As you all know, folks, I am like a Monday to Friday, roll up the sleeves, grab the lunch pail content miner. So it is Friday. I'm feeling a little loosey-goosey here, as you can maybe tell by the singing and dancing and all the tomfoolery that's been going on here. Why do North Americans have these stupid ball-dropping ceremonies? They're so ugly and stupid. What even is their symbolism? I mean, it's just you'd have the New York Times, the Times Square thing, and then other people try to replicate that because it became kind of iconic. Let me tell you, the Brockville, Ontario ball-dropping, that was not quite as extravagant. I'll tell you that much. I will tell you that much, folks. You know what? It's 2:10. I feel pretty confident with the work that I've done this week. We've done a lot of important stuff. Oh, and a couple updates. We got big guests coming on next week. Okay, we just had Paris MARX today. Unless plans change, which is obviously always possible. Okay? Let me just pull up his bio here. Let me just find what I'm doing here. One moment. Sorry, I just want to call up the name of this book coming up so I don't screw this up. I'll just be one moment here. Okay, so unless plans change, which is obviously a possibility, on Monday at 1 p.m., right here on TRRS, we've got Ken Hammond. Ken Hammond is going to be joining this very program. Ken Hammond is, of course, a professor of history at New Mexico State University. He does a lot of talking and research and commentary and analysis about China, and is the author of the brand new book coming out. If it's not out already, it's coming out very soon on 1804 Books. He wrote a book called China's Revolution and the Quest for a Socialist Future. Ken Hammond, Professor Ken Hammond, is going to be joining this very program on Monday at 1 p.m. We talk so much about, geopolitics and the new Cold War and China's socialist path and all this stuff on this show all the time. We look at Kenneth Hammond's interviews that he does often on Breakthrough News. So really looking forward to having Ken Hammond appear on this program on Monday to talk about all these subjects and these issues. I think it's going to be fantastic. And also, if you think that's the only guest I have next week, well, you're mistaken. You are mistaken. And let me just look at the timing here. Okay, so that's Monday. That's Monday. Ken Hammond is on Monday. On Thursday, we got more guests. We got more guests, baby. Thursday is Amanda Yee, aka Radio Free Amanda, is going to come on the show, as well as Jorge Rocha of the DSA International Committee, to talk about these same kind of subjects. The new Cold War. We're going to talk about Jorge's efforts right now to become to join the DSA NPC, and we can talk about all these sort of the new Cold War and the new Red Scare and geopolitics and all this great stuff that we often talk about. Two of my very favorite people, Amanda Yee and Jorge Rocha, this Thursday. So you catching that? We got Ken Hammond Monday, 1 p.m. And we have Amanda Yee and Jorge Rocha on Thursday. So it's going to be a fantastic week of content coming up on TRRS. Now do I even have time? Yeah, okay, I think I have time. So earlier, like I said, it's Friday. I'm pretty satisfied with the level of commentary and discourse that we've had throughout the week on this program. I got to go pretty soon, but you know what I have time for? You know what I have time for, folks? I opened up just for a brief moment, accidentally. But what if for the next 15 to 20 minutes, before I sign off here, I play a little game. A little video game that I like to call Fork Knife. And I'm the first person to call it that. I just made that up just now. Fork Knife. Anyone tried that? So let's do that. I got like 20 minutes to go. I got 20 minutes or so before I got to go pick up my kid from theater camp.
Old Rob to talk you through all this.
Hey, thank you, Diego, for the gifted sub. Thank you for that. Hey there, cops just killed 2 more people in France while the cop union is calling for war against the vermins. Yeah, I really didn't have enough time on this episode today to really dig into this. But I think, I got Ken Hammond on Monday. next week we will definitely have a dedicated effort to talk about the ongoing unrest in France. It seems like France goes through this once every couple of years, but it's pretty remarkable and inspiring to see. I think France is giving us a little glimpse at like what we're going to see in terms of like the next decade or so. It's really kind of popping off there right now. So really important story. It's fucking crazy, some of the footage that we're seeing come out of France right now. Let's keep our eye on how that progresses over the weekend. And next week when you come back, we're going to focus some more of our time on talking about that. I got back into Fortnite pretty hard after seeing Rob playing the Zero build. It's so much better. I mean, I always just... The first time I tried Fortnite, the headphones aren't adding a great look to my fit here. But I really enjoyed the game. I like the graphic style. I like the third person. I love third person shooters. But I was always like, this building thing makes it really inaccessible to me because there's all these like 12-year-olds that know how to instantly build these massive skyscrapers. And I'm sitting around going like, what? How do you do this? And it's just not fun. So once they introduced this no build situation, it's been a lot more enjoyable for me. I like it a lot. Danger Dave, I'd be happy to do that sometime. I just really don't have a ton of time right now. I really have enough time for a quick game, but at some other time we can mix it up. Okay? I would be happy to. But since I really only have time for one sesh here, I'm going to keep this in the solo. Okay, yeah, I got your friend request. Awesome. Eliminate opponents at hotspot. Ammo for limited players. Isley islets. I'm gonna land there. Land at Brutal Bastion. Try and get these quests going. Oh, switch to Fortnite tab. Shit. Fortnite. Done. Okay. Also move your camera to the upper right and make it a bit smaller. Yeah, I don't think I have the ideal optimized viewing thing here. I'll have to figure out that at next time. We really need to lobby for a TRRS skin. I agree. I mean, I'm a professional Fortnite player.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
As Ainsley,
Hello there.
as Ainsley just proved. Thank you so much, Ainsley, for the 12 months of Tier 1, an entire year of Tier 1 from Ainsley. I am a professional Fortnite player, as I just made $5 just now playing this game. So you'd think eventually I can get some kind of recognition from Fortnite for my pro gaming capabilities here. That was some really bad shooting by me there. Oh shit. Ah. Okay. That one didn't count. Now that I'm warmed up, now I'm ready to go. Okay? Yeah, the hot drops are hard. They're a little sweaty. But it's a quest as well. It's a quest right now. We will say this didn't happen in the history books. Thank you, Rylan. Thank you for that. Refreshing water. And thanks again for the tier 1 sub, Ainsley. I appreciate it. The entire Friendship Triangle should seriously get on War Thunder. We could start a clan and only play as the Soviets and roll shitty American tanks in iconic T-34s. That sounds kind of fun. That sounds kind of cool. Now we have my Ellen Ripley skin doing the Gangnam Style dance. Which I should find offensive, but for some reason I enjoy it though. I should find what we're seeing on the screen now grotesque and offensive, but I like it still. I'll try that one more time. We get one elimination here, then get out. That was very epic. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Moss. Sigourney Weaver. That's nice. That's good. Hey, sexy lady. If I'm able to pick up the Victory Royale, which I think is unlikely because of time issues, time constraints, of course. If I'm able to pick up the Victory Royale, though, I'll celebrate with the Gangnam Style. Ooh, sharp tooth shotgun. I've never got one of these shotguns. Hey, sexy lady. Oh, oh, oh. There we go. I don't know what they were doing there. Okay, so icy islets. Over there, that direction. Ooh, Cybertron cannon. Hey, sexy lady. I work on this game, believe it or not. Is that so? You should give me some kind of special privileges or abilities that other people don't have. Those guys. We already ransacked this place. What? There already has been some Dune skins. Oh, you like Dune? Yeah, I like Dune as well. I support Dune. Dune what must be done against our class enemies. How about that? There doesn't seem to be any more chests around here. It's already been looted. A guild navigator skin would be great, yeah. It's one more. A guild navigator skin. I don't even know how that would work. Would you just be floating around in a tank? You'd think the guild navigator tank would have a big, like, hitbox, though. Floating around in there. Does this count as I see a slip? It doesn't count. That's bullshit. Oh, there we go. That was cool. Okay. Now we're seeing some of the pro gamer capabilities. As I said, I just needed a brief moment to warm up. And now here I am. Poning noobs. I'm poning noobs again. Remember that? Poning noobs? Ah. Oh. Oh man. Hey, that was some nice work with the Cybertron cannon there. I really need health though. Didn't quite take that guy out. We're poning the ownership class, or the ponership class. How about that? Non-playable Canadian. The ponership class. Please give me some health. Where are you going? Ah. Okay. Now I'm on a bit of a roll here. Okay? I know certain people watching may have doubted some of the gaming abilities that I was talking about here. As you can see, though, I am an official pro gamer, and this is exactly why there should be a TRRS skin in Fortnite. There should be. Here I am, pro gaming. I'm on twitch.tv. Thousands of viewers right now. I can't look at the numbers right now. I'm pretty sure it's in the 4 figures, though. I can't quite glance because I don't want to glance away because it's going to disrupt my gaming, but pretty sure it's up there. When are my contributions to the pro gaming industry going to be recognized? Thank you, no free will. I'll send a Slack DM to the designer guy who worked on the original BR team. Thank you. This drum shotgun is just, it's very OP. I believe is how they call it. Gamer speak. Guy's got a bot. Oh no! No! Oh, look how close. 22 health. Come on now. I ran out of ammo at the most inopportune moment. Okay. Well, whatever, you know. Not so bad. Not a bad showing. Not a bad showing. Unfortunate. Unfortunate. Well, that was fun. That was fun. So I got to go, folks. And you know, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't just quickly point out that literally just one generous chatter could not only get to the sub goal today, but could also trigger the highly exclusive and cool 10 sub gift alert. I'm just pointing it out. I'm not telling you what to do. It would not be fulfilling my basic responsibilities as a Twitch streamer to not just at least mention this. At least mention this fact. I really got to go though. I got to pick up my kid from camp. It's been a very fun and enjoyable week. I've had sort of a time issue this week. I don't have as much time, but I'm very happy with the work we did here and the conversations we had and the good times we had over here on TRRS this week. Thank you everyone for tuning in and for supporting the show. As always, it's very, very, very much appreciated. Thank you, friends.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Oh goodness, who's this now? Who's this? Non-playable Canadian. Thank you, non-playable Canadian, for the 5 gifted subs. That's very kind of you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Oh, no, chat, I'm sorry. I disappeared you. I'm sorry, chat. Come back. Come back. Come back. Don't go yet. Now I definitely wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't just, again, briefly say that the sub goal is now so close. It's so close. One brave hero could step up right now, just as non-playable Canadian just did. And thank you again for that, non-playable Canadian. One brave hero could step up at this moment and end the stream on a high note for this week by getting to the sub goal. I know it's not guaranteed, but it would be irresponsible of me not to mention this. I would not be doing my basic job as a Twitch streamer to not just point this out. That is now in relief. It's in view. It's in view, the sub goal. And one brave hero could get us there. I'm just saying. And you have about 1 more minute, because we're going to raid our friend David Tovarish now. You got about 1 minute for any potential heroes and extremely cool dudes and dudettes. Could do it, and you could make the number go up to the good number. We need a hero. He's gotta be strong. He's gotta be fine. Gotta be fit for the fight. I don't know the lyrics to that at all. Do not know the lyrics to that at all. The main film that I associate that song with is Short Circuit 2, I believe it is. They do like a montage in that with that song. Fresh from the fight. That makes sense. That does make sense. Hasn't aged well. No, not with Fisher Stevens' performance there. Remember when it was just totally like normal and okay to do that in Hollywood? Very strange. Very strange. Anyway, thanks, folks. Thanks for tuning in today and this week. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. We'll be back Monday. Kenneth Hammond on Monday, 1 p.m. Have a great weekend.